The
Mhm.
purest simplicity is communication. This is the early 80s, guys. There's not even cell phones.
Right?
I just started asking, who do you know and who do you know? I'm not even joking. And I just went around spending all day, full time, talking to people and talking to people. And in like 2 months, I'd filled up the whole building. So whatever you're
Always.
doing out there, it's something never to minimize.
Hi, everybody. It's Andrea Gordon calling you here on my podcast, Realizations. And normally we talk just about real estate and the ways in which real estate agents intersect with everyone's lives. I started the podcast because of the NAR DOJ lawsuits and the commission lawsuits. I felt like we weren't being respected as professionals, as individuals in the field. And so rather than being angry, I decided to create a podcast that would educate the American people about all the different ways in which realtors interact in the world with their cities, their legislators, their clients, different vendors, different ways of marketing, what have you. So this podcast works within a framework of people that work in real estate, as well as people who are outside of real estate looking in. Today, I have Tony Urso, who is a podcaster on, and I wanted to talk with him about his work in helping entrepreneurs, because every single realtor, whether you know it or not, you don't work for anyone. You work for yourself. You are an entrepreneur. I really hope that all realtors start realizing that they are the clients of the companies where they hang their license and not the other way around. You are not an employee. You are an entrepreneur. And how do you make that entrepreneurial success happen? And someone like Tony, who talks with billionaires and millionaires and people of all different walks of life who are entrepreneurs, can help us. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's an honor to be here. I am not a real estate person, but I've done some serious real estate, and I've done a few things to put me on the Hall of Fame in the real estate world, even though I'm not an agent nor a broker nor anything like that. I just know a few things.
Well, there you go. And I have this feeling you're being awfully humble there. So what are those things that you have done that have put you on the map as in relationship to real estate?
In 1982-ish,
When you were
take a
12?
year, give it take a year. uh, I've worked about 30 years in what I call corporate America. I've worked 30 years as an entrepreneur. But in 1982, I wasn't really so much an entrepreneur. I worked for a company, and they had some real estate. This was a United States company. I'm going to not mention who names.
Mhm.
They had some real estate in Toronto, Andrea, and it wasn't going very well. And
Mhm.
they asked me to go out there and troubleshoot it. Now, we didn't deal with real estate. We weren't a real
Mhm.
estate company, but we had properties. And
Right.
this one was trouble. So, not knowing a thing about anything, they sent me, and I don't know why, but I guess because the fact that I can talk and figure things out, they sent me. So I went out there to take care of it. It was a 6-story building in I said prime time, prime location, Toronto, downtown ish.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was mostly half empty after about a year. And the listing with the broker was expiring, and they didn't want to re-sign. And he put in one or two tenants. Most of the building was empty, and it was not a good investment for the company. So I went out there and I didn't re-sign. And what I did was, this is the early 80s, guys. There's not even cell phones.
Right.
This did not exist, let alone the internet. And I decided I was just, well, I wanted to fill it up and not re-sign because the current broker really wasn't doing anything. So I networked. I just started asking, who do you know and who do you know? I'm not even joking. And I just went around spending all day, full time, talking to people and talking to people. And in like 2 months, I filled up the whole building, which was just like, wow. I mean, I got so many tenants and really just talking wherever you are, whatever you're doing. There's not enough that could be said for networking. And it's like, it doesn't work for you. You work for it. You go, there's
Yeah.
somebody there. You talk to them and you ask them a question and you start going. And it was that simple. I mean, I spent 2 months working it, but the
Hmm.
purest simplicity is communication. So whatever you're
Always.
doing out there, it's something never to minimize. And the communication is both ways. I'm not just talking full time like maybe when you put on one of your shows on YouTube, Netflix, it talks to you. Well, this was interaction live, and
Dialogue. Yeah. Communication. Yeah.
it's
Communication is
so key.
always key in everything. And mindset as well, because it takes a lot of diligence and discipline to be able to do what you did. Most people give up. I mean, all these leads that realtors get online, what have you, most people will call the lead once or twice when it's actually been found statistically that it takes at least 7 interactions before any sort of real contact and communication happens with that lead. So persistence is absolutely crucial in when you're going to be an entrepreneur. So Tony, tell me a little bit more about you. What is your background that made you so interested in entrepreneurs?
In the year 2000, I had the opportunity to help start a company, and I did the fundraise. And I guess this is classic me, though I've never considered it that way. I didn't have a what's it called, the series five license or whatever it's called. I had no license, but I could talk. So I just spoke to people, and in 6 months I raised $3.25 million to start a company, just like that. And I didn't know any billionaires, millionaires, trillionaires. I didn't know anybody. It was just, again, just talking. So I helped start up a company, which we did well, and I wound up being in charge of sales and marketing, go figure, and did well. And
Mhm,
in the year, and this will explain the podcasting, in the year 2007-ish,
mhm,
I had the opportunity to be, instead of being a VP sales and marketing at the company that I helped form, to have my own company. So I had that opportunity, and I went and took it and formed my own company, Lead Generation and Marketing. And that went rather well, but it had its ups and downs, Andrea. For 7 years, in four times in 7 years, we had major sweeping protocols, just like you guys, not me, but you guys
mhm,
had a couple years ago with the whole world lockdown and all that sort of shenanigans, as I call it. We had four major protocols that just took us down to our knees. I'll give you an example. I had multiple clients. I had a client Monday go into the office. I'm doing $1 million a year in sales on this one client.
mhm.
They canceled.
Oh
Why?
wow.
Why? What happened? What happened? What happened now? Another federal regulation came down,
Yep.
Andrea,
Yep.
and it said, you got to do this in this way. And it took their attorneys 2 weeks to figure out, looks like we're going to have to shut down our marketing services and retool. And the same
Mhm,
thing with
mm,
like a domino happened with
right.
all my clients. And I said, that's it. I'm tired of being brought down to my knees like this. What can I do? What is it
Right.
that's possible? And so I looked and looked, and I kept hearing this word podcast. Like, what is a podcast? And when I found out, Andrea was like, hey, I can do this. I can talk. So I studied almost nothing on podcasting because there wasn't a whole lot in the year 2015 other than podcasts talking about podcasting. And they were long with very little answers. It was excruciating for me. So I did the Italian thing. I jumped on live 1 hour a week, which I don't recommend if you're going to podcast unless you know what you're doing. Because guess what? I didn't have any radio experience. I didn't know any entrepreneurs, and let alone millionaires and billionaires that I interview now. I had zero audience. I was a nobody and nothing. Yet, but I understood some basics of communication. I guess
Mhm.
that's the way. So I started uh, with the podcast, and 11 years now, we're like 50 million listens. That's the
That's
short.
awesome.
That's the short.
And how do you monetize your podcast? That's what I want to know, because how does this become a moneymaker for you?
Commercials.
Commercials. Okay. And do you have someone who solicits people to purchase commercials from you, or are they just coming to?
I work with different companies, and sometimes I've had up to three or almost four different companies giving me commercials. One shut down, one merged with another. So Different things happen. And, but where I am at, or where anybody can be at, there's no, if you interview people, for me, interviewing successful people, there's no lack. And there's no lack of companies that want to interview, that want to put commercials on and sponsor
Hmm.
a big show, or even a decent show, with thousands and thousands of people. There's literally no lack of sponsors for my show. It'll run forever
And
until
do you have,
until the world ends.
so just again, out of curiosity, when you have these commercials, how much does one commercial pay? Do they buy a package of commercials where they're going to be on you every week, or do they just buy one at a time, or how does it work?
Different companies do different things, and one of the key things on that is it's a very loaded question. It's like you just went into a new city, and where are you going to eat lunch? There's so many options. Are you a big show? Do you have hundreds of thousands of people? Are you
Hmm.
primetime network? Are you small? There's um, too many questions, but try to make it more simple. And that is, when you are able to get minimum 10,000
Hmm.
people, that's a good number. It used to be you would be told 5,000, but it's not very much. But when you were able to get about 10,000 listeners listening to your show, the industry standard for commercials can run and vary between 20 to $50. Let's say 20, $25 for every thousand. So doing the math, 10,000 listeners makes you $250 for one commercial, a 60-second commercial. But that's all, but that is kind of like having your cake and cherry and all that, because sponsors want discounts, and no sponsor is going to come necessarily and give you a big order for, now my sponsors, they have year contracts with me, but that's different. But if you're
Right.
brand new, that's why I said you go into a new city, where do you eat? So
Hmm.
it just depends on who you are and where you are and how big your show is, because nobody new is going to come along and say, "Oh, Andrea, here's $5,000 for a year."
Right.
No, it's not going to happen. Not unless you can prove your downloads, prove it's all the statistics has to be very verified and so forth like that. So if you can get up to that level, which I
Hmm.
had mentioned earlier, like being a big network show, then you can command higher dollars, and you can get long-term contracts and so forth. Otherwise, the
Hmm.
sponsor would want to do one show,
Right.
maybe two.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
And test, and they're bean counters, they'll give you $200. They'll give you $200 2 months, 3 months after the
Right.
commercial.
Right.
And if they don't get their sales, if they didn't make $400 or $500 or more in sales, they're not going to re-sign with you,
Right.
or they're going to complain, or who knows what. So it's not something to count on at all. This conversation is not important right now for a brand new podcaster, because if you're
Hmm.
podcasting brand new, I could give you so much advice on how to really monetize and maximize it, because you're not going to make it from commercials. And I don't use the not or no word very often, but it's something you should not, and I'm using that word again, really focus on. You're not going to, I'm going to go podcast, and Tony says if I get 10,000 people, I'll make $250 each week. Okay, so that's $1,000 a month I could make on 4 commercials. Getting that 10,000
Yeah. It's tough.
is going to take you a lot more money than $1,000 a month.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
what you have to do is leverage it and layer it out. And I'm going to explain that. Let's just make up a great example, because I like orchids, that I'm going to podcast about orchids. That's not my day job. I do real estate. I do whatever. It's not my day job, but it's something I like. And the reason I bring that up, Andrea, is you have to follow your passion.
Oh, absolutely.
Podcast. It's contrary to what the people that your audience and your fan base
Hmm.
are being told right now. I'm going to tell you the opposite information right now. Complete opposite. Because they're going to tell you, because I've listened to them, I've watched them, they're going to tell you that the big wigs say, just go for the money. Forget if you
Oh,
like it
no.
or hate it, just go for the money. Go for the money.
Oh,
Pure
no. No, no,
capitalism.
no, no. Not in my world.
Wrong, wrong. Oh, it still is happening. I see it all the time. The biggest names say that, and I can't say enough against it. I am the opposite. You want to
Mhm.
start a podcast? What do you like? Wrenching on cars, knitting, putting embroidery on shirts? What is it that you like? Because right now, nobody's going to go knock, knock. Hey, hi, Andrea. Here's $10,000 a month. Go make a podcast about making pottery. It's not,
Right.
it's not something easily that's going to happen. So the reason is you follow what you are passionate about, because you want to know why? Because contrary to what the big people say who are millionaires who don't quite get it, you'll wake up every day to do that podcast because you like that topic. I like orchids. I'll wake up early and I'll podcast about orchids, even if there's no money. But my enthusiasm and my passion will shine through.
Oh, absolutely.
Ah, and now people who like orchids will like my show because they like orchids. And I can now bring on affiliates who, hey, check out these or gloves, or check
Right.
out this feed, or check out these
Right.
little tools. Now I can sell related things on my podcast or on the website and
Mhm.
make a commission. And that's one of multiple ways. There's multiple ways.
Mhm.
Getting the commercials, the sponsorships, that's like really high on the bar. There's lower level bar items that will make you
Mhm.
money for your podcast.
Well, that's pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, I started my podcast, as I said, because I wanted to educate the American people about real estate. I really don't care if my podcast gets monetized. I just want to reach as many people as possible around that. I don't know if you had a chance to look me up at all either, but I'm the top producing agent for Compass in Berkeley and Oakland in the Bay Area. And I've been doing it for 28 years at this point. And I've been through three economic downturns, and it's really crucial and crucially important to me to make sure that realtors find the respect both outside of themselves and inside themselves for what it is they do. Because a lot of times people think of us as used car salesmen, and that is so not it. Although I have met several really nice used car salesmen too. But but the end result of all of this is following your bliss, as Joseph Campbell said. You want to make sure that you are doing something which makes your one and only life that you're going to experience this go round meaningful, important, valuable, and full of love for yourself, right? So I totally appreciate and grok what you're saying there. When you are dealing with some of these wealthy people that come on your show, what is what is something that you hear from every single person who is an entrepreneur who is very successful that comes on your show?
That's it. That's going to take some time to answer. But for the audience, if you want to understand a little bit more about this question and the framework and why Andrea is bringing it up, go to tonydurso.com. And you're going to see there on my podcast page 11 years of podcasts with some of the world's elites and some very big names that you will recognize instantly. And there is the one thing that I can say just right off the top is that I think that I've only met one person in my career that had his life or her life handed to them. Everybody else had to push. Everybody else had to work.
Mm.
Nobody, you hear me talk. Oh, I heard Tony with this podcast. Oh yeah, he's done great. Look at
Right.
this. You hear it and it sounds good. You hear some big names. You go, wow, how great. But
Yeah.
but I'm telling you, not one of them had it easy. Not easy, easy.
Yeah.
So with the exception of one person who, that I've interviewed. So there's your clue, that had everything and anything this person could want. Everyone else had to work for it. I've interviewed people who on the street, homeless, became a
Hmm.
millionaire. I've
Hmm.
interviewed people that have defied the odds.
Hmm.
And, the person who came out with Frappuccino
Hmm.
for Starbucks, I've interviewed Mr. Starbucks. I've interviewed people and I've been in their mind, and they've mentored me each and every single week. I get mentored by one of the top elites
Hmm.
I call them elite entrepreneurs. They don't run the world, but they're at the top of their category. And that information, by the way, has really helped me because I use that information
Of
to
course.
catapult my own business. And not one has ever said those words that I'm telling you. And those words again are they had to work for it. They had to
Hmm.
think, they had to devise with whatever. You just heard a story at the very beginning of this interview where I'm telling you something that happened before the internet,
Hmm.
before cell phones were out there, folks.
Oh, yeah.
And yet here I am, I filled up a building.
Hmm.
I filled up a building and I wasn't even a real estate person.
Hmm.
Get into the mind of these people, how they did it and why. And that can be in itself inspiring and enthuse you to be good and accomplish what you want. But not one of them will say anything like that. But you listen to my show, they'll go through what they've learned, how they've learned, and what they do. And I'm talking, people who put out and sold 600 million books. I'm
Hmm.
talking some serious people and
Yeah.
how they did it.
Yeah.
Um, so when you were able to do something like this, like Andrea is doing now, she's interviewing me, she's picking my brain, and I'm sitting here thinking about this and that and giving, and this is the real deal. This is the real deal. So I would say persistence. I would say there's three things that everyone that is successful that I've interviewed had in common. They never stopped. They never stopped. And furthermore, number three, they never stopped. Those three things.
Yeah.
And they won't say that. They won't say, Tony, I never stopped. They'll just say, well, I did, you get into their mindset of what they're thinking. And it's like, you look back and you go, boy, this person really wanted to be successful and
Yeah.
would not take no for an answer.
Yeah. Yeah. My own origin story. I am a theater director and producer and playwright, and I actually have a nonprofit theater company that's part of the Magic Theater in San Francisco. I have a master's degree in theater. I'm in a PhD program right now at the California Institute of Integral Studies, taking one class at a time, but I will get there.
What is that?
And I'm focusing on women, ageism, and theater. And obviously, I had to figure out a way to support myself back in the day. And when my friends in theater were getting jobs at restaurants or bars, I got a job in advertising and studied a lot under a master at a place called Hal Riney and Partners. And so I learned a ton about casting, about what you need to do in order to be successful as far as marketing is concerned through that. And and basically theater and real estate are analogous skill sets in so many ways. And so I took the information from that into my next phase of life, which was to become a realtor. I produced a play that was a complete flop, even though it was a wonderful play and got great reviews. It flopped. And I was too egotistical to stop running it. So I ran up an enormous bill because it was a union play and the actors all had to get paid. The stagehands were all union. Everybody was union, very expensive. And so I had to get a job. And so I went to something that I knew to do, which was to go into an advertising company. And I basically ad-libbed my way into a big job. And at the end of a year, it was for high-tech professionals. And at the end of the year, I had paid back every single person who had loaned me money to get that show off the ground because I felt obligated by honor to do that. And I paid back every dime, walked into my boss's office, and he looked up at me. And before a word even came out of my mouth, he goes, "You're quitting, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I knew you were going to go." And I said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "You were my best salesperson ever." And I was like, "I'm so sorry." And he said, "I knew you wouldn't stay because this is not what you love." And and so then I thought, well, what can I do that could make me really good money? Because I made really good money at the job that I was at with him. And I really hated it because I had to fly and I had to talk to people about things that I didn't care about. And so I thought, okay, well, I love cars. So I'll become a car salesperson. And then I went and visited a bunch of car places and I saw that all of the salesmen were men and all of the support staff were women. There were no women salespeople at any of the places I went to, which was like Alfa Romeo and Porsche and all those places. So at that point, I thought, well, what about real estate? And I went to a real estate office, and lo and behold, it was the exact opposite. All of the salespeople were largely women. And I thought, oh, I could probably do this. And then I started thinking about the value of what it was I did for humanity. Because basically, when somebody buys a house, they are becoming part of a community. They're starting to care about the schools. They're starting to care about the roads. They're starting to care about whether there's a food store nearby, whether there are services that can service them. They start caring about whether their mail carrier is making enough money so that they can afford to live in the city that they're living in. So there's a lot of care and concern that comes in real estate. And I started realizing, oh, this is really good. And it takes a lot of the same skill sets that it takes in theater to do well in this business, because a lot of it is being able to talk to people you don't know. A lot of it is being able to connect with people in very open ways. You know, in real estate, you're always dealing with people that have just, lost a job, gotten a job, had a baby, had their kids leave and go to school someplace. There's so many important life events that are always occurring that in a certain way, it's a lot of the same emotional stuff that you deal with in theater. So I thought, I can do this. And my first month in the business, I made 6 sales. And I've done that every year ever since. So I totally appreciate what you're talking about loving what you do. And I love that you found that what you love to do in podcasting. And I want to talk to you further offline, because I have a funny feeling there's some tie-ins and connections here that I could really, really love to hear about. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that? What do they do?
Well, what is the best thing for someone is to find out more about me is to go to TonyDurso.com. You'll find out my books, my music, my podcast. You'll find a little blurb about my life. And that's a really good place to start. You'll find my social media. And again, I don't sell anything. I have books. These are some of my books there. I have music, but I'm not, so it all depends what somebody wants, what
Mhm.
somebody wants to know or where you're trying to go. But I'm very open and easy to reach. I would start really with the podcast. That's like really the big thing, because I can almost guarantee you and bet you and double down that you will do great at real estate by just listening to these episodes.
Absolutely.
It's helped me go to 50 million listens in 11 years. I mean, this advice is powerful stuff. This is not a joke. This is the real deal.
That is super awesome. You are wonderful. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. I truly appreciate it. And I definitely want us to stay connected. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you loved hearing from these incredible voices shaping real estate, you'll want to catch what's next. Click the video on screen to keep discovering more inspiring stories.